Total Excellium, the fuel that cleans your engine kilometer after kilometer. Total Excellium, the fuel that cleans your engine kilometer after kilometer.
And everywhere you pass, so much unkindness, so much selfishness, so much greed, so much corruption. 7 hospitals. If this were biblical times, a proverb could have been written from this story. Not one of the nurses said, "Come in, let me see what I can do." Everybody was focused on self-preservation. Everybody was thinking about themselves and about their own comfort. 70-year-old man has been lost to the evils of the system. And the system is not just the buildings that are not there or the buildings that have been finished and not working. It also includes people who are just too callous or just don't care about what human life means. So as we focus on the buildings and the nurses and the doctors, let's also talk about the attitudes and the behaviors and the mindsets of the people. 6:31 on the 11th day of June. Jedouble Ambole calls this one Sunkwa. Now, did you know you could walk into any of the 75 Fidelity Bank branches in all 10 regions and buy your MTN shares? Fidelity Bank is ready to assist you own a piece of MTN. Fidelity Bank, believe with us. Kojo, Akoto and AJ Akokusapon are joining us. It's newspaper review time on the Citi Breakfast Show. Monday morning. Good morning, guys.
Good morning, Bernard.
How are you?
I'm looking forward to a great week. We have a big event this week.
Yeah.
It's the FinTech Summit. And I'll tell you more about it later on.
Great.
If you want to be part, there's something you should do. Just call me and I'll put you on it. That's all. But it was a very sad weekend listening to the news this morning of how somebody died because he couldn't get access to a hospital. 7 hospitals. And he eventually died. Really, really sad indeed. But that's the commentary of what Ghana has become. Let's start with the newspapers. Then we'll go online to give you details of that story.
Well, starting with the Ghanaian Times, public health alert. Government warns against galamsey. It exposes mining communities to high levels of toxic metal, contaminates water, soil and food. We have delivered on our campaign promises, says the Vice President. Calm returns to Jamestown after Friday's shootings and 7 perish in ghastly accident at Dominase.
If you go to the Daily Graphic, President cuts sword for Takrady Port Expansion Project. Communications Ministry dragged to court. And Dr. Amwa calls on FIFA to revisit third-party interference in football.
The Ghanaian Observer, Nyantechi begs Akufo-Addo, Dr. Baumia quits GFA post after FIFA ban. Contracts for One Village, One Dam awarded, says the Vice President. President Akufo-Addo launches 2018 Ghana Census of Agriculture, and John Boydu tours Ashanti region.
The public agenda, venture into agribusiness sector. Spiogabra advises youth. Northern CSOs hail Charles Abugri's legacy. Corruption and greed in Ghana sports. An anti-human trafficking unit rescues 339 victims.
The New Crusading Guide, Kennedy Japan releases empty tape as defamation suit scares him. MPP chairmanship race in team's campaign coordinators resign.
The Daily Statesman has the same story. Stephen in team campaign rocked by resignations. Decision to dissolve GFA. Public backs government, but critics resist move. And sacking of 4 CEOs, part of broad restructuring strategy. Herbert Krapper clarifies.
The Publisher, MPs tell Kennedy Japan, we are not buffoons, as Nana sues for 25 million Ghana cedis. Mahama fights Nana over 65 million euro Kumasi airport project, and government stops GFA officials.
The Daily Heritage, I have the blessing of NDC elders to run, says Mahama 2020 contender. His name is Mr. Nuruddin Idrusu. Mepe Fakpo, residents drink dirty water. There's a picture of people fetching water from a pond, and pure water seller turns guest house owner.
The Chronicle, Chinese miners defy Nane's orders, invade Odan Forest Reserve with machines. Galamsey exposes Ghanaians to toxic chemicals, says the government, and GFA runs to Kofi Boakye for assistance.
If you go to the Gold Street Business, the big story is from last week's GateCon event, which is part of the Citi Business Festival. Oil refinery must be the preserve of private sector. BDCs must play a role. That's the big story. Private sector ignored by banks as they scramble to meet minimum capital requirement. Private sector muses over $50 billion petroleum hub agenda. 10 years to meet local content requirement, and 1,000 households in Accra to benefit from Midas ESDM project.
The Business Day, UT Capital and Unibank customers in trouble as BOG fails to honor their checks, and 7 biggest CEOs out of job.
If you go to the BNFT, build sinking fund to retire debt. Guess who is talking?
Set Tekpe.
Set Imano Tekpe.
Sinking fan.
Showdown between telcos and NCA as deadline to connect to Kelny GVG elapses today, and CD volatility disturbs debt sustainability agenda.
The Independent, massive road development for Western region, says the president, and GCNet rolls out single sign-on to deepen integration of systems.
If you go to the Inquisitor, danger looms in NPP. Baumia sidelined, moves to kick Veeps men out uncovered. Bust boss firing sparks anger. And Nane's panic changes. Oseameyao, others to go. So there's a picture of Kofi Oseameyao, NLA boss, and Dr. John Kojo of Oritinkran, SNIT boss on the front page. An ECG concession deal, injunction against MIDA dismissed.
Let's take you online. Citi Newsroom leads with a couple of stories. Forgive my son Nyantechi, Wana begs Nanado. You see that thing, eh? Also, minority to boycott Ghana card registration for MPs. Kofi Boakye leads probe into corrupt DFA officials. Still on that story case, Leiford asks, who bags dollars and complains about being scammed? CitiBusinessNews.com. Oil and gas experts caution government against building more refineries. Also, Kumasi Airport Phase 2 to be completed ahead of time. This is according to the minister. And SME skeptical of mobile money services. It's an audio. There's more on this. Join the Citi Business News. If you go to My Joy Online, the lead story, fertilizer plant coming to Jomoro. Akufo-Addo vows to fulfill promise. Also, government blocks 2 GFA officials from flying to Russia. And tough talking Kofi Boakye tasked to clear GFA rot. Really troubling story on BBC's Africa page. Italy shuts ports to migrant rescue ship. It's serious. So Italy shuts port to migrant rescue ships. And Peace FM leads with Muhammad jabs Akufo-Addo for engaging in pettiness and plagiarism, with a photo of Muhammad in a blue top. Let's get into the details, guys.
Let's start with the Communications Ministry and the County GVG story. If you go to the BNFT, showdown between telcos and NCA as deadline to connect to Kelny GVG elapses today. Richard Andekwe Abe writes that mobile network operators are prepared to stand their ground and not connect to the monitoring system installed by Kelny GVG, even as the deadline given them by the government elapses today. The Communication Minister, Esla Owusu Ekufo, issued a June 11 ultimatum to the telcos last month to grant Kelny GVG access to their billing systems so as to allow for real-time monitoring of traffic as well as revenue, so government can track taxes and telcos. I know that she said that if they don't connect by the deadline, they'll be sanctioned.
Meanwhile, 2 private citizens have dragged government to court to halt the implementation of a contract with Kelny GVG for real-time call traffic monitoring. Sarah Safo-J and Maximus Ametogo won the Minister of Communication, the National Communication Authority, the GRA, and the Attorney General and the Chamber of Telecommunications and Telecoms Networks to seize the traffic monitoring endeavor. They are requesting the courts for an order of interlocutory injunction restraining respondents, whether by themselves, their servants, workmen, hirelings, agents, privies, or any known persons claiming under or through them whomsoever described from implementing and operationalizing the common platform. They say it violates the fundamental human right of privacy, for which reason 8th June 2018 applicants commence an action against the respondent for their relief sought therein. Now, this follows Imani's complaint about this project, but this is in no way linked to Imani. this is two people who are not connected to the organization at all. Now, we wait to see what the chamber will do. We heard Ken Ashigbe speak on City News this morning saying they are still engaging to try and get a solution. AJ?
Well, moving from that to a Greek, and in the middle page of the Ghanaian Times, the president has launched the Ghana Census of Agriculture. So the president has launched the Ghana Census of Agriculture with a call on Ghanaians to embrace the census for proper planning for the agricultural sector. He said more than 50% of the population of Ghana was engaged in various forms of agriculture, and for such an important sector to exist meaningfully without correct data meant projections for the sector was done on the blind side. The president said this at the national launch of the Ghana Census of Agriculture at Sefirioso in the Sefirioso municipality of the Western region during a 3-day tour of the region. He said the importance of the agricultural sector to the economic survival of the nation demanded an up-to-date data to allow both local and foreign people to have access in order to have an efficient planning on agriculture for the nation. We're coming to the Ghanaian Observer.
Still on that,
Yes.
the president is promising a fertilizer plant in Jomoro. Now, this story is on my Joe Online. The president on Sunday, June 10, ended his 3-day tour of Western region with a promise to improve infrastructure in the region in fulfillment of a campaign promise in 2016 for the establishment of a fertilizer plant in Jomoro. The president told the chiefs that negotiations with the Moroccan government to begin the project have completed. He mentioned the company OCTP, the largest fertilizer producing company in Africa, has been in Ghana on 3 separate occasions, and very soon will announce plans for the construction of the fertilizer plant in Jomoro.
Now, let me tie some fishing stories to a Greek. If you go to the center spread of the Daily Graphic, there's a special report, Waves Wreak Havoc in Coastal Communities. And the Daily Graphic's Timothy Nyangbe reported that danger looms for some residents in the Cape Coast metropolis. Now, he visited the Central region, Volta region, and some other regions. And then this report that he's filed, it shows pictures of buildings close to the coast which are being damaged by the waves, fishermen losing their livelihoods, and a lot of things happening at the coast. It's important that we pay attention to this because a lot of people derive their daily bread from our coast and our beaches.
There was a story this morning from the Central region about how fishermen were just catching plastics, and this is from our Central regional correspondent. It's a big story. Now let's continue with other headlines. AJ?
Well, coming to the Ghanaian Times again, and still on danger, public health alert as government warns against galamsey. So the government has raised the red flag warning that artisanal and small-scale mining exposes mining communities across Ghana to high and potentially dangerous levels of toxic metals such as mercury, arsenic, lead, and so much more. These toxic metals, the government noted, contaminate our water, soil, food, and in the process, inorganic mercury is also released into the air. Hence, the need for Ghanaians to encourage themselves to strictly adhere to our collective environmental policy.
Now, let's go to the Daily Statesman. GFA stories. Public backs government. Critics oppose the move to dissolve the GFA. Now, the story says that the public response to the government's decision to intervene in the affairs of the Ghana Football Association following the ANAS expose of embarrassing levels of corruption in soccer administration has so far been largely positive. The media, sports journalists, civil society, politicians, and ordinary Ghanaians have joined forces to demand state intervention and a public inquiry. Now, the president of the Ghana League Clubs Association, Kojo, has backed the government's decision to dissolve the GFA. Now, the ANAS investigative documentary number 12, which premiered last week, uncovered all these allegations. Now, 24 hours after the premiere, the government of Ghana, through the Minister of Information, Mustafa Hamid, issued a statement announcing that it had decided to begin to dissolve the National Soccer Administration. Now,
still on this, Kofi Boachi has been tasked by the GFA to lead a probe into the corruption that took place there. This story is on citynewsroom.com. It says the GFA Ethics Committee, headed by Director of Police, Intelligence and Professional Standards, Kofi Boachi, has been tasked to look into allegations of bribery and corruption against some officials of the association. COP Boachi, who has chaired the GFA's Ethics Committee,